We all know the saying that the best things in life are free. So with the new year upon us, I want to look at my top 10 free operators Arknights has given us. We all know the stellar reputation Arknights has with their welfare operators and their extravagant kits. I have used a lot of welfares in my time clearing events lore accurately, giving me a good general sense for how good some welfares are compared to others. So I'll be ranking them based on how good I think they are for a general player. The best things in life are free, but when it comes to these welfare operators, in global, do you get what you pay for? Coming in at number 10 is our Scotty at home, Lessing. Unfortunately for our free 6-star, he exists in a world where one dreadnought is a limited with true damage, and the other is a part of the most broken faction in the game. But this does not mean Lessing himself has no merits, because while other operators honk shoot me, Lessing locks the fuck in and wakes up. Lessing's biggest skill is his skill 3, which he can cleanse any negative status and start swinging like his life depends on it. This is quite the good skill when you take into the fact that many bosses and elites in AK come with some ability to stun or apply some type of negative status. Not only does he wake up from the status, he also gets a pretty nice boost in damage when he's blocking an enemy. If you have none of the other options, Lessing is a great choice for a single block high damage dealer that has a niche in status ignore, or as a budget heli drop. Mansfield breaking into this list at number 9 is Robin. Contrary to popular belief, trap masters actually do something interesting with their traps and make the gameplay fun. And Robin is no exception. With her skills, you can use Robin in lots of different situations. Bind will always be useful and can be applied in all stages, while Robin's ability to push can be used in very niche situations to great effect, allowing you to pull pro gamer moves with push mechanics. Robin also has access to camouflage with her module, giving her the ability of being able to be placed in much more aggressive areas without being completely dangerous. This trash panda is a fun and useful operator. Farming plots of land and flying a kite into 8th place is Wan Ching. By virtue of being a flag bearer that is free, Wan Ching would land on this list regardless. Luckily for us, he actually has merits besides being a welfare flag bearer. Wan Ching's S2 allows him to be both a healer and a buffer. When operators are facing the same direction as Wan Ching, he's able to give all operators within his range an extra 25 attack speed, which is a noticeable amount, all the while getting a juicy 20 DP. Wan Ching however suffers a bit more than others from the welfare attacks. For those of you that don't know, all welfares in Arknights have a higher DP cost. This usually isn't a problem for most welfares, but Wan Ching is a vanguard and you want your vanguards to be cheap for obvious reasons. But at the end of the day, it is only one extra DP, and Wan Ching's ability to heal and buff your team greatly outweighs his greater cost. She once stood behind others and now stands in this list. It is Silence. Silence is an Abjurer, which is a class most people didn't know what it actually did, except that Tsukinogi was a part of it. While she's not the best Abjurer in the game, she is good and with a pretty interesting niche. Silence's biggest selling point, besides being free, is that on her S3, she is able to make any operator immortal for 10 seconds. This ability to stop one unit on your team from blowing up opens up many fun strategies. In her own event, Silence was able to let your unit survive the massive Gundam punches, buying you some time. Or you could have used the skill to hard counter clip from Jessica's event. Her S2, while not as great as her S3, still provides good utility. On-demand Sanctuary with her drone is very nice to have when you need it to cover a part of the stage she cannot reach. She is here, she has infiltrated, and she has already won the 6th spot on this list. It is Scene. Despite being a welfare released 3 years ago, Scene is still a pretty great summoner. Being a summoner, she can fill multiple roles, from holding multiple lanes with summons to sacrificing buggies to delay dangerous enemies. She also is one of the few operators that fits into the Invis reveal niche. If you are an avid Ines user, then you know how helpful it is to be able to reveal Invis enemies without blocking them. With her S2, her summons become quite thick and deal decent damage, letting them be good lane holders. And she expands her Invis reveal range, which is a great bonus. She's also just an easier to use summoner. More Blue Woman, less Maggie. Inviting herself to some wine and slacking off, 5th place goes to Cruz. Crewster is the best 5-star AA unit in the game, and goes pound for pound against her 6-star counterparts. While we live in a current state of the game where marksman usage is as dead as the usage of Phantom, Cruz still has great utility with her ability to stun. Her ability to stun frequently is what makes Cruz stand out even from her 6-star counterparts that have more damage. With her S2 doing quadruple hits, if you are lucky enough, Cruz can effectively stun lock enemies, which is always funny to see. Cruz's second big contributing factor, which comes paired with the stun, is that she has the ability to crit, increasing her damage. Her chance to crit is only 20%, which is a little bit low, but once she gets her skill going, it is very easy for her to proc her crit and stun. With X2 also now being in the kernel system, Cruz provides a nice choice for players that want to get into the buff night gaming, as Cruz with her rapid fire S2 can become a budget X2 when buffed by Warfarin. This lets you not have to waste any resources on the kernel system of all things, and much less use resources on a sniper archetype that has seen little use lately. Marksman slander aside, Cruz is just a good operator overall, with her stuns being her biggest selling point. Inviting himself to some Tequila, wait, did I just write this? Having beds with the boys is 4th place Tequila. Tequila is our welfare and only other Liberator guard, and if you know anything about the funny horseman, then that should clue you into why Tequila has made it so high on my list. Tequila is just an easy operator to use. You place him down, he does nothing for a little bit of time, and then he dishes out very respectable damage. While his damage and range are not as big as the funny horseman, don't worry, because size does not matter, since he still fulfills his role as a Liberator guard and outshines most other 5-stars in actually being a generally useful operator. While he does not have innate taunt like the uncle, you can still use him as very effective bait from ranged enemies, due to Liberators having rather thick stats for guards, and Tequila himself also having a reflect damage talent. He's just a pretty good operator, does good damage, and isn't a supremely niche 5-star like most of them. He's just a good lad. He's the lighthouse of the welfares. Lumen comes into the 3rd spot. It seems 2022 was the year of the welfare with 3 top 5s in this list. Lumen upon his release was straight up the best healer in the game, until Lumen became the coughing baby versus the nuclear bomb that is Aya the almost dead. But even in a post-Aya berry world, Lumen technically still has the highest single target heal in the game. Putting aside the Aya berry, Lumen has a lot of great merits besides the high healing. His biggest selling point is his ability to cleanse CC on skill. This ability should not be underestimated, as it can hard counter stages that would otherwise be cringe. It can also just save your stage clears by not letting you get trolled by a random stun you were unprepared for. His hard cleanse of CC is fantastic, but most of the time his skill will not ever run out of ammo, which in turn leaves you with an infinite duration skill. An infinite duration skill that gives Lumen both an increase in attack and attack speed. He's just a very solid healer, and he's free, so what's not to like? VTubing her way to the top is Civilite Eterna. Teresa is our Scotty at, wait a minute, Civilite Eterna is a 6-star bard, and this dead mom has quite the interesting set of skills. Civilite Eterna's main skill, her S2, is quite silly, with it being true damage and the thing she used before she lay down to take a nap with Amya. The true damage is also helpful for when enemies come with some form of dodge, as true damage will always hit. Besides it being true damage, it has very useful utility since her S2 is able to bind. If timed correctly, you can even get the skill to perma-bind a single enemy. This is great when you want to stall out bosses for 35 seconds. Another extra little benefit is that her skill continues despite being under any form of negative status, which while not widely applicable, is still a neat thing to be able to do. Civilite also has an incredible, quite frankly overkill, burst healing skill in her S30. She expands her range and makes everyone share the same HP pool, effectively making everyone into a pseudo-immortal. It makes your squishy range units be able to take hits and makes your already durable units be able to take a lot more pain before poofing from existence. It is a slightly better Sculptor S1, in the fact that Teresa herself doesn't take damage when others do like Sculptor. Her S3 gets better the more people you have within her range. It shines best when her healing is focused on one blocker taking all the damage. This is why she works so well into the Surtur ICU. She's pretty good, she's cute, and she loves to remind you that she isn't Teresa. Before we get to the top spot, I'd like to briefly go over some honorable mentions and the fact that you should subscribe if you have gotten this far. It helps out the channel. Thanks in advance. The first mention goes to Heidi, who's another bard weirdly enough. Just like Civilite, this bard has a pretty interesting set of skills. Her most notable part is the fact that she's able to change block counts. While most laugh at making units block 0, what happens when enemies just hit a little too hard? And this ability is used to great effect in High Ascension Gaming in IS. She's a top pick for clearing the hardest stage in the game, Sentinel. Heidi has the same inspiration as Skalter's S3 at 110%, but a quicker skill cycle at 20 seconds, which just so happens to line up better with Degon's S3. She's just a neat unit. The next few mentions are quite quick, and it's for the IS units. Highmore and Valarquin are pretty good units within their respective IS, and are worth building if you play a lot of either IS. I think Highmore is the better unit overall, but they both deserve mentions, which leads me to mention the next welfare unit. The Ice 5 welfare would have made the top 10 list due to how good he is in both normal gameplay and in his respective IS, which, by the way, he's amazing for his IS and very much worth building. But this is a list of global only operators, so for those of you who are typing right now, how could you not include? Just relax. He's great, don't worry, I know. Finally, we have reached the pinnacle of welfares. The number 1 spot, the one you probably knew was going to get this spot to begin with. The welfare that single-handedly created the most broken faction in all of Arknights. The welfare that was made by the mod given to them, pushing them into the stratosphere as one of the GOATs. A unit that is a must build if you wish to make full use of a whole team. A unit that is both a vanguard and a guard. One that can have places on both ranged and ground tiles. The one who takes the crown as the best welfare in the game. The welfare that is peerless for their utility and access to both normal and arch damage. Vigil. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Just kidding, it's actually Clown.